Hey everyone, it's the 5th of July. I've come down to the allotment to have a bit of a look around, see where we're up to. We're not having a chance to get up for probably about 10 days to 2 weeks. I can't quite remember the last time I was up here. It was when I was harvesting some broccoli side sheets was the last time I was up here. Fully intended on getting up again probably 1 or 2 times before, but it's just not been possible. This year it's particularly hard to get up. You know, I'd like to come up every sort of 3 or 4 days, but I just cannot seem to do it. You know, just because of other you know, personal reasons and stuff like that. But it makes you question, you know, whether I can actually keep doing this. But I'll try my best to keep it going, and I'll just have to work with what time I've got, and you know, try and come up with different methods that will help me, which I've kind of done today. You know, I've used a method that I usually do to tend for weeds, which I'll have a talk about in a bit. But nothing's really gone bad, which is always nice when you've not had a chance to get down for a bit. It's always nice to come down and see things sort of ticking over on their own. No nasty surprises. Obviously this time of year with blight, you've got to, you know, pay attention to your potatoes. I've not really looked in great detail at spuds, but they're looking okay. You know, it's just a green forest, you know, but they're doing their own thing. So be another probably 6 weeks before I can harvest anything. This, I mean, with a cold start, they didn't get in until a bit later than normal. We've had some humid weather and we've had some rain, and it's usually, if there's blight spores about, I find once it's rained, 2 weeks after the rainfall, it starts to show signs. So I need to sort of start being on the ball a little bit more, whether it's just to nip up and look and go home. You know, if I've got like an hour, well, it takes me 20 minutes to get here anyway, but we'll have a look around, but nothing's gone horrendously bad. Right, as we're down this end, we'll start off in the fruit cage. As you can see, you know, a bit of rain, a bit of sunshine, the weeds just go rife. You know, obviously I'm going to deal with this fruit cage at a later date, but like I said, I can't bank on any definite dates or definite times because, you know, things just crop up. So I just have to deal with it as and when I can. But anyway, when I came down here, there was a bird in here, and obviously he's been helping himself to a few blueberries, blackbird. So I got it out, but it actually showed me how it had got in, which was great. I always think if you come into a fruit cage, don't startle them too much, and they'll scurry around and they'll probably show you the way they've got in. And it was basically, I had a little hole in the corner there, so I've just got a ball of netting, shoved it in the hole to block it for now. And then while I was doing that, another blackbird came in behind me through the door. So they know the berries are here, and they'll try many ways to get in. You know, rabbits and rats will chew through the netting, and then the birds can get through. So I've had a look around. I can't see any holes, but they'll let me know if there is any. But blueberries, you know, they're doing all right. You know, I'll get a crop. You know, there's plenty of berries. You know, big clusters. You know, because we were heavily pruned this year, so I'm not expecting as much as I usually get. But I don't mind, because it is quite time-consuming picking the berries. So I've got a few to pick today. You know, not loads, because I half expect to come down thinking like a load have been dropped off because we've had some high winds and bad weather. But I think the blackbirds have picked them up, to be honest. And obviously they will take them off the bush as well. And they kind of flutter about in the bush and knock a lot off, because they're not interested in them until they're pretty much about ripe. You know, this is it. If you see one that's nearly ripe and you've not got a net over them, they will be gone the day after. It's like the blackbirds watch them and they know exactly when it's the right time to take them. So if you've got any blueberry bushes, you know, unless if you can sort of look at it all day long, put a net over it. You know, make sure pollinators can come in, bees and things, even if you only have like a small window to let them in, and once all the flower buds have fallen off, you can close it then, because they've been pollinated and they'll just, you know, ripen up. So all I do, I'll leave the door open, and then once everything's pollinated, I'll make sure that door is shut all the time. Even though pollinators can get through this mesh, it's something like 14mm, so a lot of things can get through it, pests as well. You know, but if you want a complete pest-proof one, probably use like an EnviroMesh and do it that way. So these are the potatoes. I've not had a right good look in detail, but it looks weird because obviously there's a bit of a gap there. We've had some high winds, they just start collapsing this time of year. You know, because they are kind of like 2.5 foot spacing between rows, but you know, I can see there's a row here, but there's 4 rows of Ola, I just have to keep an eye out for that telltale sign. You know, some people get a bit panicky when they see, you know, a dark leaf or something. Oh, it's blight. It's not. It could be just windburn, or it's been damaged. You might have had some hailstone that's bruised the leaves. You know, but when you've seen it, it comes and it takes over pretty quick. And once you've seen it, you'll kind of know what you're looking for. You know, because there are some times I look at things and I question it. Is it? And then I sort of, I'll come down, and I won't act until I'm thinking, you know, I'm certain. We're getting some flowers coming up on the second earlies, which are the Charlottes and the Morris Pears. I don't know what variety I'm going to grow next year, but I mean, obviously there's no flowers as such on the Orla yet. But we'll just see how they go. They don't always produce flowers. You know, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Certain varieties do, and some don't. But they're doing the thing. Peas, on the other hand, it's been a terrible year for peas. I mean, I put some later ones in the garden, and there I've been picking them. I mean, some of these are ready. I'm going to take some of these today, but this has just been because, you know, I've had sort of animals tunnelling underneath there, so they're struggling for water, which then obviously they struggle to plump up. But obviously the soil's not great there. This bed is not great soil-wise. Even though it's had stuff incorporated, it gets that flooded here, it just damages the soil really in the wintertime. It doesn't do the soil any good. So you just have to work with what circumstances you've got. Onions, we're still getting a lot of this, you know, thing like giving up. You know, it's not rotten. It's just like the roots have give up, like pruned off, and they just become hollow, and they go knackered. So I usually pull them out, just in case there's anything about to spread. But you know, they're starting to swell now. So I was a bit worried at first, but we'll get a crop of onions, fingers crossed. You know, in a few weeks, because you know, probably another 3 or 4 weeks, I should imagine they'll start toppling. But I mean, they're really plumping up now. These are Santero. The Red Spark, they're doing the same. Could do a bit of weeding in there really, but it's a bit too dense to get in now without poking my eye on some of the tops. But if I can get to any of the weeds, I'll pull them out. But obviously, because I lost a few earlier on the season, there is the odd white one that's put in. So I'm not too worried about that, but I'll have a crop of each, so that's not all bad. Come over to the broccoli. There's something's going on in that corner there, like the plants are dying off, but there's got some nice little green shoots there, so I'll probably pull some of this old foliage off. It could be down to whitefly attacking, I don't know, and sapping the life out of them. But obviously there's some of the broccoli side shoots. You can see, I don't know, the shadows in the way. One down there, they're starting to blow, but they're still okay. Still eat them. You know, so I'll have another pick of side shoots, tidy them up a bit, because you can see like some fresh green shoots growing, and they will keep producing side shoots. They inevitably want to produce seed, you know, so they're going to keep producing side shoots until you say, that's enough now. And I usually wait until my cauliflower's ready, and then empty the beds. I thought the cauliflower would be a little bit further on. I don't think it's far off, because the leaves are all the leaves are twisting in the centre, so there's something going on. So there's probably curds starting. So I imagine, you know, in a few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, I'll start seeing some sort of size of head. I'm not going to let them get too big, because I don't want a massive ones, you know, because I think if you leave them too long, the slugs get in, and it's just take them when they're, you know, if you're happy with something that's like a 4-inch head, take that. If you want a massive one, you know, see how long it can go before it wants to start to blow. But I always find, you know, don't tempt fate, because you might not be able to get down there and then you lose a lot. Better off taking on the small side rather than just leaving be. It's okay to leave some of them, and I've just seen a cabbage white first one in a long time. So there's some of the leaves down here. I'm not going to lift this net up today. I'll do it next time I'm down. I'll take all the lower leaves off and sort of inspect in a couple of them, because I only look in a few of them. Obviously there's been some big holes in the leaves, so there is something in there sort of chowing down on the foliage, probably slugs, but I'll probably put a few slug pellets under there as well. But all in all, you know, things are tickling over okay. This Rigoletto, it's doing its thing, you know. big leaves in there, you know, there's not much space in there, but that'll need some of the foliage tidying out from underneath. It just becomes a haven for slugs. You know, so pick a day, lift your net up. Don't leave it unattended, because it only takes a couple of cabbage whites to get in and lay some eggs, and that destroys a lot. So just keep a watchful eye. The courgettes, very, very slow, but the temperature's not been great, to be honest, but we are starting to get courgettes. I mean, I could pick some of them off and let you know, the plant get a bit more, but I'm sure once they get going, they'll you know, romp away, as courgettes usually do. A few yellow ones in there, and some green defenders. So I'm hoping to try and catch them, you know, sort of 6 to 8 inch mark, you know. But if you get the odd marrow, then fine. But that needs a bit of weed, because this has just got like a manure mulch on it. So yeah, things are tickling over all right. This is a spud bed from this end. You know, we've got a random flower down here. So this is another one there. So there's some of the Orla are starting to put flower buds out, but they're a bit behind, because obviously I've got some at home in pots that have put flowers out. So we'll just have to see how things go. And fingers crossed we get a reasonable crop. We don't get a horrendous month, because I know last year, sort of July, it was really wet and it rotted a lot of the lower tubers off, because it was just torrential. Which is kind of the first time it's happened to me on this plot. On my old allotment, it did happen, and I lost everything. It just, because it was actually all underwater, and they can take it a little bit, but not for days. So yeah, everything's looking all right. Just like I say, it just needs a good bit of a weeding, really, especially in some of the beds, a bit of a tart up. But my predominant job today is going to be picking blueberries and the peas and some broccoli side shoots. That's all I'm intending on doing today. Everything else is tickling over. I'll leave it be. I'll probably try and pull some of this stuff out of the asparagus bed, because I'm letting that do its thing now. Like I say, I mean, this is having it here. It's so I can come down and pick some, and then I don't get down for a couple of weeks, and it's a fern. You know, this is it. I mean, I've nowhere at home to put it. I just need to try and get down a bit more often, but I need to try and organise things at home. A caring situation for my father, and obviously I've got to be careful. Any weeks I'm doing a gig, a weekend, I don't want to sort of risk coming down and, you know, spraining my wrist or tripping or falling. So I have to think about other options. But I try my best to work with what I've got, and it's very difficult. You know, for those of you who've got the chronic fatigue syndrome, maybe, it's very difficult. You get up and your battery's flat, and you want to, but you've just not got the energy. You just constantly feel like you can't be bothered, and it is mind over matter. But sometimes you've got to sort of ease off and just think, I need to have a rest, you know. And you get a build up, and then you tire out and you're exhausted, and you just can't do anything, and it's horrible. But I have to just deal with it best way I can, really. But we'll have a look at the harvest, a quick look at harvest when I've harvested. But regarding the weeds, I know some of you don't like weed killers. A couple have asked questions like, what weed killer do I use? Well, there's a couple that you can use if you like grass. It used to be one called Veridome Extra, but it's done by Weed All now. It basically kills everything but grass, pretty much. Any broadleaf type thing, which is good for things like creeping buttercup. That's okay. I have used it. I haven't got a bottle with me, but the one I've used for years, which has been for like clearing allotments and just clearing masses of ground or just tickling around places, is this is the stuff I use. Not affiliated with them in any way, but I know some people just don't like using weed killer, and that's fine. If you've got a way that works for you, that's fine. I tend to not use it so much in the back garden or anything like that, apart from around paths and stuff, because I can get out and weed. But because I can't get up here, and I could spend hours getting rid of all this and spend immense amounts of money and lots of time trying to get bark chippings, paving flags, and make it all nice. But at the end of the day, I haven't got the funds to do that, and it's an allotment. It's a growing larder. It's just, I have to just kind of try and keep nature at bay, the weeds, and allow a space for your crops to grow. So I spray everything, paths, all my paths I spray, and the perimeter of the fence as well with that stuff. And it's a bit complicated to work out the mixture levels on it, but I tend to go 30 or 40 millilitres to 5 litres. I have, 30 is fairly weak, but it will work, which I tend to use because just in case you get some overspray on your crops. But I use a little 5 litre spray gun, and I put my nozzle to the ground and I just slightly trigger it. I don't do it when it's high winds, and I keep it tucked near my feet, so to try and shield any wind from it. It takes a while and it hurts your back because you're stooped over. Just take your time, and I've sprayed it all, so provided this is a new bottle, provided I've mixed it all right and everything, in about 2 or 3 weeks time this will be gone, all this. I'll admit, because it's got so dense, there'll be something I've missed, so I can go over it again if I need to. But I usually find about 4 applications a year, and I don't have to bother about it, because I used to have grass on my paths and it was an absolute nightmare. Oh, you can see there, blackbird, he's hovering around, he's watching me, wait for me to get out of the way, but I'll be in there in a minute picking blueberries. But yeah, so if you don't like using weed killer, that's fine if you have your way of weeding, but I just think if you have too much grass and too much habitat for slugs, and slugs are a massive problem for gardeners, and I think if they just don't like open ground, at night time you can't really deal with it, but if they've nowhere to hide, they either have to hide in your bed or somewhere else, where in an unkept plot. Obviously I'm right next to a plot, that I'll just show you. This is what we have to put up with down here. I'm not sure if someone sprayed it, I don't know. They're supposed to be coming down to spray it, but I can stay that polytunnel up to the roof. That's just full of seeds, docks and everything. And that used to be a lovely plot. And then the previous owner, he left it, and then someone else took it over. And she's had it for 3 years now. And she actually took over another plot behind it, and it's a mess. On here they should have a rule that if you can't keep your plot tidy, get off. Let someone else come on. If there's a reason why she can't, then inform someone. Don't just leave it like that. She's paid the rent, but that's just a nightmare. And when you've got plots surrounding it, it's just seeds, weeds and problems, and you get things. That'll be a haven for slugs, rats, rabbits, all the pests that you don't want on your plot. So they'll hide in there. When you leave your plot, they'll scurry on and they'll start attacking your peas and doing all sorts of damage on yours. So, I'm not saying you have to be strict, but basically if you can't keep your plot, semi-maintained, regular, just spray it. Just spray it. Don't let other people around you suffer. But if you're spraying, just be careful about wind and spraying on other people's plots. That's all you have to do with weed killer. Just be very careful. Because you can strip it and come back in 2 weeks and it's back up again. Which is fine if you can come down regular and do that. Great. As you know, for me, it's just tricky to get down regular. I used to have grass and strim it, but I was coming down once a week and spending half an hour strimming. I thought, I'm not getting on with the job at hand, which is dealing with the crops, because it becomes more work. And once it becomes work, you stop enjoying it. And the idea is try and enjoy it with minimal problems. You're always going to get things, but the idea is come down, enjoy it. People like weeding when you can control it in a bed. When you come down and you're overfaced with it, it's a daunting task. And this is, people are going to look at a plot and they're not going to take something like that plot on. They'll come down and think stuff that. For someone like me, I'd be like, right, it's a nightmare. It'll be full of seeds, it'll come up for years. But I'd just go on there, spray the whole plot, go home, do a lot of planning on paper, and come back in about a month and it will be down. And I wouldn't rake it up, I'd just let it rot into the soil. It'd be fine. Because anything in the soil will break down anything that's in it, and it just needs time, and the soil will rectify. And if you leave that soil exposed, nature will just stick another weed in there. So that's your opportunity to go, right, I'm going to stick some I can eat in there. So that's enough waffling. So I'll do a bit of an harvest, and then we'll have a very quick look at the end and see what I managed to get. Right, I've had a bit of a harvest, a few broccoli side shoots, some peas, a few blueberries. I've Move the camera out. I've tried to water the peas a little bit, try and get a final bit of swelling, so I'll have to come up in a few days. I've not done any weeding as such. I've actually emptied the broccoli bed, which I'll show you why in a minute. Because obviously I had some plants that were doing quite poorly at that end, and they just, I mean, I'd had the main head off them, but they just seemed to wilt. So I thought there's a cause for that, there's got to be. And it's not good news, to be honest. I've never had it before. I mean, I've had cabbage root fly before, but not here, many years ago. But I've never had any dealings with it before. As far as I know, nobody on the site has it either. And it looks like, to me, it's the dreaded club root. So that's kiboshed plans a bit. Obviously I've got my late season stuff, so whether I actually do it or not, I don't know. All I can really do is put a load of lime in it and hope for the best, you know, or fingers crossed, you know, it's possibly going to be in the cauliflower, even though it's not showing signs yet. But how it's got here, I don't know. I mean, that's not had any brassicas grown in it for, well, not last year, I don't think, anyway. I mean, I don't follow rotation as such, but I try to give each bed at least a year's rest from having the same thing in it. You know, because a lot of people don't follow. So yeah, there's bits of roots in there still. But I'm going to take them plant. I'm not going to compost them. I mean, the tops, I'd already cleared a lot of tops off there in my compost heap, so hopefully they'll get hot and it'll kill it off and everything. But the roots I'm going to take home and they can go in the in the actual bin bags and get taken away. They can. I'm not going to compost them because it's soil borne, and I think it can last like 10-15 years in your soil, so it's a major problem really. So it means amending the soil somehow. Yeah, I could dig all the soil out and start a scratch, but if it's in the actual soil, it'll work its way in. It's fine. So I need to just have a bit of research on host plants, of what can keep it here, and look at my options really, because I mean, it's predominantly one of the main crops I grow up here is brassicas. I usually dedicate, you know, 3 beds to it, you know, and onions have had problems last few years. So I'm not sure what's going to happen now, to be honest. I'll have to just do some research, but I think for this season I'm going to put the peas that I've got at home, the peas, because they shouldn't harm them, the peas can go in that bed, and then I just cake it with manure, you know, or whatever I can find to build up to the top, and lime it and just try and manage it really, and look for some club root resistant varieties of things. But yeah, it's a massive setback, that, to be honest. Not like it's been a little bit of it. It's all of a sudden, never had a bit of it on anything here before, never heard of it on here, and all of a sudden, wham, you know. Yeah, it can come on transplanted plants, but they were my own seedlings grown in compost, you know, so there's no outside influence come in, you know, which I try to do as little of, is bring any outside, you know, seedlings in, which, well, I just don't really, because I mean, so everything's grown from seed on here, you know, so there's no transplanted plants from garden centres or anything like that. It's kind of like in, you know, some shop bought composts, you know, and my own compost, which is fine at home. It's the same compost. My spring greens haven't shown any signs of it, so obviously it's here. Where it's come from, neighbouring plots or something, I don't know. Over time, I don't know, but it is a massive setback. But it's just another thing that gets thrown at you, I guess, and you just have to try and find a way to deal with it best you can, you know, and look at alternative crops. I mean, if I have to, I'll just fill it with spuds next year. I don't know. I'll have to look at next year. I'm not going to bog my head down with it, because it just gets you down and it makes you think like, well, is it worth doing it anymore and stuff like that, which of course it is, you know, because it's good for your mind and it makes you eat healthy. It forces me to eat healthy anyway. But it's just a massive setback. But what can you do? These things happen. So thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next video, and I'll probably do a bit of research online and find out what I can regarding club root. But looking at it, it looks like club root, you know. But yeah, it's one of those things. So I'll just do as much research as I can and find out possible sort of solutions or ways to hold it back, you know. Maybe put my seedlings out a lot bigger state, but they don't have long in the ground anyway. You know, maybe that's why I've not seen traces of it in the past, because they never spend that long in the ground. You know, they're usually a fair size, so I might end up having to like pot things into 1 litre pots and transport, so they've only got like, you know, 5 weeks, and then pick them, you know, give it less chance, the plant's in the ground, less chance it's going to get it. There's that alternative. Obviously, I know you can use like lime and stuff like that, dust the hole with lime. That all holds it back a bit, along with varieties. But as far as I know, the Clapton is club root resistant, so fingers crossed, you know, that'll help a bit. So I might have to start looking for club root resistant cauliflower and obviously cabbage. You know, anything of brassicas. It's a shame, but we just have to work with what we've got and still try and get the upper hand, you know, and in time, you know, hopefully if it has no host plant, it'll go away, you know, but it's going to be here for a while, I think, so we'll just have to look at what we can do to try and keep it at bay as much as possible. So take care, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.